Hi, I'm Jay. I make videos about traditional Chinese characters. I go in the order of Pinyin, which is the romanization system, in alphabetical order. In Taiwanese Mandarin pronunciation. People in Hong Kong can also read these characters, but they speak Cantonese primarily. If you do searches in the internet for your sound form in English, romanization, you're often going to get simplified characters. Even if you type in the words traditional Chinese characters, for example, Biao, you're going to have to scroll down. It's kind of frustrating. So that's kind of the impetus into doing these videos, is I want to go in alphabetical order. It's going to take me about 2 years. If you're interested, I'd love to have you subscribe. You'd think the number worldwide is dropping, but there are over 50 million users of these traditional characters. That's a lot of people. First, let's consider the elderly in China. If you're an octogenarian, assuming you've had, I would say, until the age of 12, if you've had schooling, I mean, there's a lot of people who were illiterate, but if you had schooling, you would have learned the traditional characters. So that's a chunk of people in mainland China that can still understand traditional characters. It was not until the 1950s that they went to simplified. As of 2020, there were 32 million people in mainland China who were over the age of 80. A lot of them are still alive. There are about 700,000 users of traditional Chinese characters on the islands of Macau, and about 7.4 million in Hong Kong. Taiwan has a population of about 23 million. And then we can't forget there's all these overseas communities where they're still using the traditional characters. There are some 35 major Chinatowns in 19 countries across the world. This brings our total to around 50 million. That's more than Spain, 5 Swedens, 10 Irelands, 500 Vatican cities. That's the elephant population of the world, times 100. It's a little bit less than the Italian speaker population, but not if you count those octogenarians from China. A good place to start today might be Biao, third tone. We've worked with the radical before. It's the Yifu clothing radical. And I kind of see this as maybe 18th century dapper gentleman, very small head, broad shoulders, and he's wearing a cape. There's 2 lines at the bottom are his legs, and he has a little dagger, a sword. That top stroke, that little din, is not there in the character Biao. But you can maybe think of kind of shelving, because there's 3 horizontal lines and 1 coming down. So you do that first, and then it's the clothing radical on the bottom. It's 8 strokes, both in traditional and simplified. And we have words like 表面, 表面, which means the surface. 表现, which means expression. 外表 is your outer appearance. 表示 is to indicate or to show something. Let's review the radical qian from former videos. It means gold. When I see it, I am reminded of the Golden Pavilion Palace in Kyoto, Japan. If we take the gold radical and put it in front of all that, it's also Biao, as in Shou Biao. I'm still wearing mine today. Shou Biao. Very proud of my watch collection. Biao Dai is your watch band. First tone Biao, we need to know the component Piao, which means ticket. This one also reminds me of a structure. It's kind of like a cliff house with a flat roof and then windows looking out over the sea. 门票, ticket. Now imagine if a ticket or a card was a little bit harder, as in made of wood, it becomes a sign. So Biao means a mark or a label or a sign, and it's also used in a very common word, 标准, standard. Wow, 你的中文说得好标准. Here is Biao, as in 标准, to be standard, and the simplified is right below it. 15 strokes for the traditional. There's also 目标, which means target or your goal. This is not on the official 3000 list, but let's add the gold radical again just for fun. This is from hiddendart.com for you martial arts enthusiasts. We have Sheng Biao, rope dart, and Du Fei Biao, poisoned throwing darts. One of the easier characters today is Bie, second tone. 7 easy strokes. There's a mouth. And then in traditional, we have the Dao, the knife radical. You have another 2 lines. It means to set apart the other. It also means don't. Okay, so if somebody is holding a knife up to your mouth and saying, don't do that, maybe you can remember it. Simplified actually has a li instead of a Dao or knife radical. Here's the traditional, and then here is the simplified. It's almost the same. There's a line next to it. Maybe it's cut by the knife and then another longer hook line. In the use of other, 别人 means other people. And as don't, it's kind of like 不要. You can substitute it. Don't. 别说谎. The next character I kind of feel an attachment to because it's in my state name, Pennsylvania. It's actually a longer expression, but you can abbreviate Pennsylvania by saying Binzhou. Bin is first tone. That, to me, is the Mr. T character. If you guys are around during the 80s, the A-Team, Mr. T with the mohawk. Well, in my remembering of this character, he has a T on his t-shirt. Let me explain. He has a very small head, and then he has long shoulders, and then he has a T on his chest. Just like on the A-Team, they're carrying weapons. So Mr. T has a smaller pistol and a larger sword, which is kind of in his belt. And here's the wacky part. He is wearing a skirt. Yeah, Mr. T wearing a skirt. I'll see if I can find that on the internet. Best I could do is Nancy Reagan in a dress on Mr. T's lap. Then below the skirt is some little legs. The skirt and the little legs, that's actually bei, which means shellfish or money as a radical. What it means is guest. So you can think of, again, this 18th century or 19th century man. Or Mr. T, whatever works for you. Going into an inn as a guest, and he has to take his weapons and give them to the desk or the counter. So he has the dagger and the longer sword, or a pistol and a longer sword. Whatever is your preference. So that way you can remember that it means guest. 各位来宾. Attention everybody. Now, if you put the water radical in front of that, you get a character which is kind of used the way we expressed, if you remember my video on an. So hai an or he an, banks of a body of water. With an, you put it at the end of the body of water. But with bin, you put it before. Bin hai is the coast or by the sea, would be the bank. Right. Got to slip in a picture of today's cool vehicle. Check out the wood paneling on the side. Remember the radical for wood or tree? Mu. If you put the tree or wood radical in front of that bean, you still get first tone bean, as in bin lang, betel nut. That was a bit of a noisy road, but you saw the sign for binlang. It's a nut. They cut it and fill it with kind of a paste. It is chewed to stay awake. It's really popular with truck drivers. Not only Taiwan, it's big in the Philippines too. There's a lot of acreage that is covered by binlang trees, and it doesn't have an extensive root system, so it's not really good for when there's erosion on hillsides. Taiwan has one of the highest rates of oral cancers due to this binlang. When you spit it out, it oxidizes and turns red. It looks like blood on the road. And in English, it is known as betel nut. I remember buying a box and just leaving it for a few days because I only had one and it got all moldy within days. This stuff is famously sold on the roadside. There's these scantily clad women in these, well, I refer to them as fish tanks, glass boxes. So they're seen by the drivers who will pull over to the side of the road. The Binlang Xiaojie, the girl, will come out to the car, maybe do a little shake. I don't know what they do. They sell the betel nut, and then the driver can watch her run back to her glass booth. You see a lot of them on the outskirts of a big city near here, Taichung. They're all over the place. They're in the countryside. Sometimes you'll see like clusters of them. This dude I'm following on Strava in almost every one of his posts, and he does like these 100-kilometer rides, but he always sees discarded betel nut boxes, and it's become his like trademark to take pictures of those boxes and put it in his Strava post. Here's the character one more time. It's also used in Shangbing, champagne. There's also another first tone bean with a water radical right here. Bin se means close to death. The main component is pin, second tone meaning frequency, as in pin dao, channel. And that's made up of the components for step and page or leaf. 19 strokes. Here it is one more time, but I wouldn't worry about it too much because it's 2821 on the master frequency list. Yes, we did it. Now that wasn't too bad, was it? Our next video will be about Bing, Bing, and Bing. Stay tuned for some great scenery. Runner's Garden signing off.